The definition of conviction is a firmly held belief. Leadership looks different for each person, but every leader has strong convictions that pave the way for how they guide their people. Whether you're an experienced leader, a current leader, a novice leader, or a soon-to-be leader, this podcast is a must for you. Through this show, you will hear leaders share their convictions, the struggles they face, and the challenges they have overcome by staying true to their convictions. Leadership can be hard and it can be lonely. I aim to connect you with leaders who have walked the journey and want to show others the way. This is Beau Vincent, and you're listening to The Conviction of a Leader. Welcome back to The Conviction of a Leader. I'm super excited to have a good friend, or a newer friend, actually, Jared Bradshaw. We have talked a couple times, Jared, but I'm excited for you to jump on the podcast because after speaking to you only a couple times, I realized, man, I got to get this dude on the podcast and I want to be friends with him. So welcome to The Conviction of a Leader, Jared.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man.
Dude,
Happy
before
to be here.
before I intro you, tell everybody where you're at today. Where are you at? Your office and where?
We are I'm in Santa Clarita and our office is in Stevenson Ranch, California.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to intro you to everybody today, and I know I'm going to make you sound good because you know what? You are good, and I'm going to be reading just for all the listeners out there. So have some grace and forgiveness if I don't read it extremely well. But early career in combat sports. So Jared started his career straight out of high school in 2004, competing in cage fights and boxing matches while working as a private fitness trainer. He leverages passion for combat into an entrepreneurship, establishing several MMA and boxing gyms. In 2011, Jared transitioned to the insurance industry, which is still crazy to hear, founding and developing a farmers insurance agency into a significant player before selling it in 2017. At the end of 2018, Jared launched Max Pro Insurance, focusing on commercial insurance, risk management, and HR solutions, primarily serving blue collar industries like construction and manufacturing. Under his leadership, Max Pro Insurance earned multiple awards, including 2019 Commercial Insurance Agents of the Year and 2020 Breakout Award for Winner of the Year. Jared is a fitness enthusiast, a dedicated family man with a wife and three sons, just like I have three sons, and continues to train in MMA, emphasizing discipline and determination. He is committed to continuous improvement, inspires others through his principles of integrity, perseverance, and excellence. And Jared is the man, and I'm super excited for you to be on. Welcome to The Conviction of a Leader, my man. How are you?
Thank you, brother. Awesome, man. That was
Good.
great.
I crushed that for you?
Yeah, that was
Good.
awesome.
Good. I mean,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
reading it and I can't wait to listen to it because I think it sounded awesome. And I love being able to introduce people that I know because I used to say this, hey Jared, tell us about yourself. And it would be very either super long or it would be very short and they would just skip out on how great they really are. So it's my job to tell everybody how great you really are, man. And I've been admiring your journey and your passion as a father and as a leader. And that's why I think we have connected so well, is because I also am a leader of my family, my wife, my kids, business, and just I love your passion and your energy, man. So tell us. So I got to introduce you in your bio, but dude, so let's go all the way back to '04. So you're fighting, and maybe even if it's earlier, if we need to, let's talk about this cage fighting and boxing. Where did it come from? What drove you to it? What was it, somebody you saw? Was it fighting in the streets that led to fighting in a cage? What is it, Jared?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. It was growing up, in a household that had an older brother,
Hmm.
and we grew up in a street just full of boys. And much different than now, it was, we didn't have any electronics, so we
Right.
were outside
Oh yeah.
24/7. and you get into scuffles here and there. But when you grow up in a block full of boys in the
Yes.
80s and 90s, it was about being tough and killing it at different sports,
Oh,
snowboarding,
yes.
skateboarding, surfing, whatever
Yes.
it was. And so yeah, so we grew up in that kind of realm, which was great, and started fighting, doing kickboxing around y- maybe like age 11, 10, 11,
Sweet.
and started competing in tournaments and just had fun with it, and slowly just kept kind of increasing my knowledge and awareness of different martial arts. So started training jujitsu and MMA, and then boxing, and just kind of never stopped, and thought that's all I was going to do,
Yeah.
because I loved it, and I loved the fitness aspect of it and just everything about it. So kept doing it, and yeah, right after high school, started doing some cage fights,
Sweet.
and then slowly transitioned into straight boxing as well because I thought I could make more money, basically.
Mhm.
And if I was going to be getting punched in the head and doing this for a long time, I wanted to make as much money as possible.
I don't blame you. You know what's funny is I graduated in '04, so I'm lining right up with like this, and I loved MMA, and I used to watch. Was it like Pride Fighting back then on
Yeah,
TV?
yeah,
Yeah.
Pride was awesome.
So
Yeah,
Pride was like the MMA back then, and we would watch it on. Man, what was that channel? I don't even know if it's still around anymore, but it was all MMA, essentially fighting all day, and
yeah, it
I
was
used to
like,
love watching
yeah,
it. Do you know
yep.
the
Spike
channel
had a
on T
lot of it too.
Spike, yeah, Spike. Is
Yeah,
this is
Spike.
I don't even know if that's still around, but so just all the
Probably
listeners
not.
out there that are a little younger than Jared and I, or maybe even older and you've forgotten, MMA was not there was no UFC in 2004, and I think if you started when UFC was around, it might have been a different story. Boxing was the fighting professional level of fighting. There was no MMA was still kind of backroom. It wasn't as main stage as boxing was, and now I would argue to say that UFC is and MMA has kind of overtaken maybe that, but I would
Yeah.
love to hear your opinion on that. So you think what do you
Yeah,
think?
dude, you hit the nail on the
Yeah.
head. You hit the nail on the head. So the part of the reason I transitioned was
Mhm.
because, like you said, none of this existed.
Yeah.
I was doing cage fights and MMA fights like in an industrial center in a cage that people set up, and people are drinking, slamming
Yeah.
beers there. I mean,
Like
it's like
a
a
blood
party.
sport. Yeah, like an old movie or
Yeah.
something.
So these were my first, MMA fights and cage fights. So it was much different and no regulation. And
Yeah.
you might fight someone 20 pounds heavier and 20 years older than you. You just don't know. Whoever, is there, kind of a thing.
Wow.
And so, and you kind of get lined up with someone, but it changes. These aren't, very structured.
No.
So uh, but that's part of the reason why I started getting into more boxing,
Mm.
because I saw it was just more established. I was already getting paid to spar pros. It was much different. So
Yeah.
I did the USA boxing route, and so
Cool.
but now I feel like uh, MMA UFC has taken over
Yeah,
from
because if you
viewership
graduated
wise.
right
It's
now,
crazy.
life would be so different. Like you might have
Oh
stuck to MMA and not went this route. But you know what's cool about us, and I think you would agree with me, is most of the great leaders and entrepreneurs I know, they don't wish to change their past. You know, your past is your past,
no,
and it's helped you be a successful person today. And I think about little things. If I changed one thing, I wouldn't be married and have three kids. Literally, it would be on a
yeah,
different path. So and I wouldn't change that for the world. So tell me how far did you take boxing? I want to hear because I know you're a bad dude, and
yeah.
I mean you're a good dude, but you're also a bad dude. I don't want to fight with
Yeah.
you. So tell me.
Thanks, man. I took it. I did the USA boxing kind of circuit
Mhm.
through the amateurs, and I won Golden Gloves.
Wow.
I ended up yeah, that was in 2010 at
Okay,
my
so
weight
6
class,
years
and then
later. Wow. Okay,
yep, and then I ended up fought Sugar Shane Mosley Jr.
that's so
in
cool.
the at the USA Open, and so did a lot of cool stuff. Then I started getting paid from Golden Boy, or the Latin Snake Promotions, which was Sergio Mora.
Mhm. I've heard
He
of.
was the middleweight champion of the world, and he won the Contender. Remember the Contender
Oh
on
yes,
I think it was ABC or NBC.
dude, you're taking me back. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
Back
So
when.
he ended up.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep. Oh, he ended up becoming, the middleweight
Mhm.
champion.
Oh
And
wow.
so he had a fight coming up with Shane Mosley. And so the dad of the
Right.
kid, the son who I fought, right? So I'm a similar build to Sugar Shane,
Mhm.
and kind of speed and power and all these kind of things. And so I went and I was sparring at this gym in East LA, different pros from different countries, awesome stuff. And they saw me and said, "Dude, we want you to spar Sergio." And I was like, "Okay," and just kind of went from there. Got to spar him like all summer for his title fight versus Sugar Shane,
So
which ended up a draw, I believe.
yeah, where was that at? Where did you fight him at? Or
I can't
spar him
remember if it
at?
was a draw.
Like,
Actually. It was in East LA.
okay, East LA, sweet.
Uh, yeah,
Did you take it as far? Did you try out for the Olympics or Junior Olympics, or do I remember
I
that or no?
I was on the circuit for all of that. I did the US Open,
Sweet,
and if you keep winning from there, you go on. I fought Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. at that fight,
sweet.
and I didn't knock him out,
Mhm.
so I didn't get to move on,
I
basically.
understand that. I actually understand boxing and MMA, and sometimes the bigger name, the bigger pool, bigger draw, you really gotta beat them if you wanna win,
For
and
sure,
it's
for
usually a
sure.
knockout. TKO,
Mhm.
is the way to win.
Yeah,
So
I was scheduled to fight him at Golden Gloves, I think on the first day also,
yeah.
because Golden Gloves was like, I don't know, a month or 2 after that. And he switched like weight classes or did something weird because we were supposed to fight at that first day, and
Mm.
I ended up not having to fight him. I saw him
Oh,
at the weigh-ins and all that stuff. But yeah, interesting.
so tell me some of the lessons, life lessons you learned from boxing, from fighting that have carried over some of those convictions, right? Those are strongly held beliefs. What did
Yeah,
you learn? What convictions of a leader did you learn while you were, cage fighting, boxing that have like carried over into your business and as a father?
yeah, for sure. I think I think one of the biggest things you get from
Hmm.
fighting is keeping your word. I've
Yeah.
never thought about it like this, but this is like a first
Uh
time
huh.
thought. Is it's your first time you really learn to keep your word to yourself, and that
Wow.
you promised others that you're gonna fight, and it's because it's scary no matter what anyone thinks. We're all nervous as heck
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it,
Can
and
imagine.
so to go through that, 10 weeks or 8 weeks or whenever it is that you're supposed to fight, commit that hard during it, keep your word still on the day of it, and fight because you could always pull out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to fight, and going through with that nervousness, just getting over that mental struggle and mental battle. It's more mental than physical. I always thought.
So,
Then that's what I learned. So when I like first opened my farmers, I was just fresh off of fighting, and so I took the same mentality that I used fighting right into business, and was like, "You're not going to beat me. I'm so committed to this that I will win."
hmm,
At least I'm gonna fight and I won't stop, kind of a thing.
yeah, that survival, man. Where did you learn that survival? What made you want to put your body and your life essentially on the line? You know the risks of boxing. I mean, you know the risks of cage fighting and putting your life and your health on the line. Like, so where did that come
For
from?
sure.
Was it some
I
deep
think just
inside or childhood growing
yeah,
up? What was it?
yeah, yeah. It was tough growing up. In the house we grew up in, we had a really extremely tough father, and
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, physically, mentally, all
Mm-hmm.
these things. So when you left our house, you weren't going to let that happen to you anywhere else.
Mm-mm.
It was, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I actually
Um,
do. I can relate. Yes.
okay, so I took that and just kind of built my character around like being, I don't know, being that way.
Yeah.
Um, not in a bad way, but more
Yeah.
of someone who will stick up for someone or will help when someone needs help.
Stick up
And
for what's right.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, I've always seen myself leading a pack through something. Could be vicious, could be, I don't know,
Yeah. S-
just kind of what I've always seen myself. So I'm always pushing myself through adversity. And so here's the weird thing too. I
mm.
never thought about getting hurt
Yeah.
fighting.
Well, that's good. I mean, because that
So
could
like
probably
with what you're
scare you.
saying,
Yeah. I would think,
that's kind
I
of
would
when I
think about
stopped
that. Yeah.
actually.
When you started to worry about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Because
Did you have a family or wife yet when you were
no, but that's
boxing?
right when it started.
Yep.
Towards the end is when that started. And
Mm.
for some reason, I think that shifts your thinking.
Yeah.
You change.
You're kind of living for
So
more than
yeah,
that moment or when you're living for. somebody a little bit different now. So, what's your wife's name again? Remind me.
Her name's Alexi.
Alexi. So, when did you guys get married? Where does she fall in line of when did you start dating? When did you marry your wife? Because I'm looking at your timeline.
We got, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. We got married in 2013,
okay.
August 2013.
So that was in kind of the middle of your farmers. You started in farmers 11 to 17. Is that what it is?
Yep, yep.
Okay. So she
11,
right in
12,
the center
17,
of
right in
that.
there. So yeah,
So
yep,
so
yep.
so
We
so,
were together, and
so what was it like, getting married in the middle of this, and what did that add to your life from like a support side? Did you feel like you were supported before you were married? Did you have friends, family, or was this new to you?
totally new.
Yeah.
I've always supported, myself
Yeah.
since a young age. So totally new, which is fine,
Yeah.
but it was
It's a
cool. But
good
it
it's a
also
good
it just
new.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it helped push me even more,
Mm,
just to go even harder and know that I have something I'm working towards and
yeah.
for. And I never thought that way. I just was just going, always
Yeah.
full speed at everything in life, and not really thinking, just trying to get there.
Mhm.
And then I think you have a purpose. You start to build a purpose when you get
Yeah.
married, of more than just making money,
Totally agree, and then you start to
which
think about
helps you
things.
make even more money, which is
Yeah.
weird.
I totally agree. If it wasn't for my wife, I know I messed up recently. I said, "Imagine, like, if we didn't have kids or something." She's like, you probably wouldn't have worked this hard, probably wouldn't have done.
Yep.
And so I think, yeah, I don't want to ever think about what if I didn't have them, because I love them more than anything. And I love that we're both fathers of three sons. And raising
Yeah.
sons, man, is something different. And have you heard that reel that was going around? And it's more of a speech, and I can't remember who said it, but I'm going to find it and read it to you. But I think it's tough times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create tough times. So you ever heard that?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Dude, I love it, but it makes me
Love that
think
saying.
about our life, and when you're a first generation successful entrepreneur and your kids only see that. How do you
Yeah.
make sure tell us, we'll talk about your business later, but I think starting with kids is important because I know you're a great father. So, how do you teach your kids? How do you not create easy times but they still get the blessings of you being a successful entrepreneur without letting them become weak?
Yeah. Dude, it's such a good
Yeah.
question. They so just like your kids probably,
Yeah.
which we always say we're not going to do.
Yeah.
We spoil them,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
so I have to make certain things tough for them.
Mhm. You do.
Otherwise, they will be too soft and too weak. 100%. So instead of like coming down on them physically, being
Yes.
abusive and stuff like that, what I've done is created just an environment, but also even a curriculum that we do together, where 3 times a week, 3 or 4 maybe, we do hardcore workout in the backyard
I've
together
I've seen it.
when I get
I
home from
love
work.
it.
Yeah, thanks, man. And we do. There's a lot that goes into it. We do. Sometimes we'll just bang out, 100 burpees.
Whew.
Uh, Sometimes we'll do boxing training.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's wrestling. Sometimes it's all these things. And I also read leadership books to them in between rounds and in between sets,
That's
and
wow.
which has been great. And it's helped their
Insane.
reading abilities and capabilities. And also, I let them read back to me a lot of times, and then I get to ask them, "What do you think about that? What do you think about this?" And really help guide them. So I'm doing it. I'm making it difficult on them in certain other ways, because sometimes they don't want to do curriculum, or what we call it, curriculum, nightly curriculum. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. You
Yeah.
have to do this. It's hard, and that's why it's worth it.
Mm,
I always tell them, anything of value in life is difficult to obtain.
mm. So true.
A long marriage is
Yeah.
super difficult,
Yes.
because it's super valuable.
Mhm.
A diamond obviously is very hard to get to and refine and clean and all these things,
Mhm.
because it's super valuable. A six pack.
Yeah.
super hard to
A
achieve,
drink. Oh, no,
super
no, no, to
valuable.
to make.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, no, I totally
Yes.
agree, yeah, and, you know, I share your passion with working out and just the hard work side. It's part of my convictions too, but working hard, but also taking care of me, taking care of you. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can be the best version of ourselves for them. I
Yep.
can't expect them to take care of themselves if I don't take care of myself. It just makes no sense. And what I have learned,
Yeah.
and I always read it and it was biblical, but a son will only do what he sees the father do. And I tell you, my father had some really bad habits, bad, which led him to prison and some other bad things. But he also had a really, really good work ethic for the majority of his life. And what he shared with me and how he was extremely hard on me in all the ways you talked about. And I can remember like yesterday, I was mowing the lawn and I'll never forget this. He came up and he literally like poked me in the chest. He used to do that all the time. And he's like, Get out of the way. Give me that lawnmower." He goes, "I'm not letting you put my last name on this yard because every time you go anywhere, you're wearing my last name. And the way you're mowing is embarrassing to my last name." And he said, "Get inside." And and I was thinking, like, usually he
Damn.
yelled at
It's
me
awesome.
and made me do it, right? But that day was
Yeah.
like, no, you're 15, 16 years old. If you're gonna mow like this, get your ass inside and let me mow. And he's like, "Because you wear my last name everywhere you go." And now I think about the same thing is like that, not necessarily pride, but love for my family and my last name. When my kids go out, they're wearing the Vincent name now, they're wearing the Bradshaw name. And it means something
Yeah.
because and I tell them, like, you know, my dad taught me these things. I'm sure you're teaching your kids, and I teach my kids is that you can be tough on each other, but no one is tough on them. Don't allow anybody else
Yep.
to hurt them. Blood is thicker than water. You take care of them. Okay, I don't care if it's your best friend. Don't let him. You take care of
Yeah.
your brother first. So those are values my dad taught, which is it's cool to remember because, you know, Jared, I'm a very positive person. I always try to find the positive, but sometimes when I talk to my father, I tend to lean on some of the negative things in life. But it's good to remind myself and honor him in these ways that
Yeah.
he wasn't all bad. He was actually probably more good than bad. And I learned from even his weaknesses of what not to do. So, you know, I love him,
Damn.
appreciate all that
Love
he
the way you
did,
put
right?
that.
I mean,
Yeah, I love the way you put that because I tend to lean on the negative as well, but there are positives.
there is.
And what you just said with that lawnmower story is cool because I feel like what your dad was teaching you was how you do anything is how you do everything
I'm like, it's
without
mow,
saying
right?
it.
Because I'm a kid. I'm like, I'm mowing the lawn, Dad. Like
Yeah.
mowing the lawn. But you keep
Yeah.
going because you're nailing it right on the head, man.
Yeah. No, I just feel like that. And my dad, one thing, I think one reason why I'm always about staying in shape too
Mhm.
is our dad was a beast when we were
That's
growing
so
up. Like he
cool.
was
Yeah.
ripped, and I was always seeing him doing push-ups and sit-ups in his room, all the time.
Mm.
And so he always had that thing. He also taught us hunting and
Oh
fishing, and
yeah.
so
We've
a
talked
lot of good positive things too.
we've talked about
Yeah.
that. And you know what's I'm so proud to say. Um, my kids, I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 7-year-old or 6-year-old. How old are your kids again? How old are your boys?
Nine and a half, 9.5, 7.5, 2.5.
Okay. So kind of a spread like with the third, like mine. We got a 6-year gap at the end, but like my older two are working out now. I built a workout room in my basement,
Yeah.
ripped out carpet of this finished basement room, and I put in horse stall mats, if you know what I'm talking about, real thick.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, I laid it in there, cut it. It fits perfect. I got all the dumbbells in there, Peloton, a heavy bag for you, dedicated to you.
Yeah.
And
Good.
I got to send you this picture, dude. It's kind of gross, but my son, my older
Oh, I
son,
saw it.
I did text you, right? With the
Uh-huh.
blood
He
all
he
over
was
it.
using no gloves. Yeah.
I did text you because I knew you would see. And I called him Bloody Knuckles for a couple weeks, but I said, "Hey man, like I think that's awesome, but throw some gloves on, or wrap your
Yeah.
hands
I
if
used to
that's
do
not."
that when I was a
Yeah,
kid too.
and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It feels cool in a sense, and but they're working out on their own, but they also started working out not because I told them or tried to make them. You know, they saw what I did and they wanted to do it, or they thought that's what a man does. That's what a dad does.
Yep.
They work out. take care of themselves. And what's crazy is that in my early stages as an adult, as much as I didn't want to be sometimes, I love my dad. I still do, but there were certain things I just did not want to be like my dad, but I reverted to be like my dad because that's what I saw. I didn't know any other different. So when I got mad, angry, frustrated, or impatient, I reverted to that, what I saw: scream, yell, want to do those things that my dad did. But I always wanted patience in a father. But I also saw a father that was patient and grace giving and not one to jump down a throat, but to slow down, sit him down, explain the why. Why am I taking the
Yep.
lawnmower from you today? I'm taking the lawnmower from you today because you wear my name. Why is that important? Because your name is all you have. Your name is a representation of your character. And when people think of Vincent, what do they think of? Do they think of a yard that's overgrown, or do they think of a yard that is perfectly manicured and that guy must take care and care
Man.
about the things that he has? So, as a father, man,
Dude.
we're relearning
Yes.
what we saw.
Yes. And it's so what you brought up is so important too, is
Yeah.
the foundational principles of like the lawn mowing, or let's say being in shape, having a
Yeah.
six pack, whatever it is, all these things. It's not about that. It's the foundational principles of what that means. So
Mm.
if you see someone with a six pack, it means they have discipline.
Yes.
If you see someone that has a lot of money or has built a successful business, they have perseverance, and they're also perceptive. I
Hmm.
mean, they have all types of qualities. So you're it's not even about, yeah, it's about the principles.
Yeah. You know what resonates with me the most, Jared, about guys like you is you have the self control to still work out. Still take care of
Mm,
yourself so you can be the best version of you. You know what's one of the most impressive people I've met was somebody who came from nothing, started something, changed generationally forever. Kids in generations come are going to change because of him. Got married,
mm,
was faithful to his wife, had sons, took care of his sons, overcame adversity, always put his wife and kids first and God first, was very successful and never succumb to the majors, I guess, like challenges in life because of his character. So a guy like you, and then on top of everything else, continued to work out, was a no excuse kind of guy. But like I worked out from 13 years old until my son was born. Pretty much my youngest son was born and he's 6. And I stopped because my wife was the
mm.
kind of the pusher in a sense, or like I was motivated to look good and work hard, but my career took off and everything. 3 kids now. My wife wasn't working out during pregnancy, so I slowly stopped, and then she went back to working out immediately 8 weeks later, like most women do that work out and have kids because they're superheroes. She goes back to working out, and I'm like, takes me 5 years to get back to working out. And every day I made an excuse on why. Oh, I'm chasing my dreams. I'm doing this. I'm prioritizing. But the truth is, what I just said is I prioritized other things over it. When I finally realized this is a,
Yep.
a big priority in my life, now I've been working out for almost 2 years and my kids are only going to remember that. Even though my son's 14, he's, I asked him the other night, Jared, I said, do you remember when I was at Finish Line? I was a regional manager there. Do you even remember that? He's like, not really. And I'm like, so, and that was only 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Wow.
So, like, he's already forgetting that. He's going to remember me as somebody that works hard, works out, has a business, takes care of his mom, and leads him. So, anyways, I think it's important.
Absolutely, dude.
It's important to,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs that are so driven, they work so hard. But have you ever heard this? Like, I actually think guys like you work harder than everybody, but then you look in the mirror and you say, I could do more. And I'm like, dude, you're already the
Dude,
hardest working one in the room, but it doesn't matter,
we're on the same
right?
frequency right now. I was thinking that this morning of how like I just feel so unaccomplished
Ah,
of it's like the weirdest thing
mm,
where I,
I'm grabbing my coat.
because in my mind,
Yeah,
in my vision of myself, I'm on a much larger mountain filled with accomplishments than where I'm at right now.
yeah,
So but that's what keeps me going, obviously, too.
yeah.
And yeah, I was thinking about that this morning.
I love it because watching entrepreneurs and friends that are so driven, and I want to be, I think I'm one of them too, right? I do. But
Yep.
what I've learned from speaking with them is that So many entrepreneurs actually want to give up, but they don't. And they keep working hard
Yeah.
and they think that they're not working hard enough or they could do more because they're very talented, a lot of them. And they realize, like, oh, if I'm going at 75%, others think I'm going at 100. I know I got
Yeah.
another level, another gear to go, and I'm not doing it. Maybe sometimes it's at home, I'm in third gear versus fourth gear. Maybe sometimes it's at work, I'm at third gear instead of fourth gear, and I know I can go harder. But it's the entrepreneurs and the people that are most successful in leadership that look in the mirror and they're able to say, I work hard, but I could do more. I can do better. I could be better. I can do
Absolutely.
better for myself first. As much as weird as it sounds, is that if you don't work hard for yourself and learn to love yourself, why should anybody else follow you, work hard, love you? It's
Oh,
work
100
so tough, right?
completely.
Starts
Com-
in here. So
completely.
this morning we had a conference call with my staff and we're up to 13 people, two part-time but 13 total people, and I just wanted to talk about this over and over again. It's something that's been huge in my life. Have you ever heard that Chinese philosopher, and I think it's where it came from, or Mahatma Gandhi? I've heard rumors of where it came from, but your thoughts turn into your words turn into your actions turn into your habits turn into your character turns into your destiny. So watch them, watch each thought, each word, each action. So I think
Yep.
have you learned to harness your thoughts?
Yeah, and it's not something I don't think that you ever fully achieve.
I don't think
It
so.
takes work every day on it to do that.
So true.
And I have this, I read and research and have different mentors
Yeah.
and different coaches, over the years. And one of them, his name is Wes Watson, and he, talks about your conscious being the authentic voice of God.
Mm,
So one of the things that I think about is that, so when I'm getting something positive
yeah.
that I'm telling myself mentally or that I need to do
Mhm.
or about someone, whatever it is, if it's positive, that's the authentic voice of God. Whenever it has any negative in it or um, anything that in my gut I know isn't right,
Mhm.
then I think of that coming from the devil
Mm.
or just being, you know, a demonic thought. It's
Mhm.
not good in
Yeah.
my mind. This is what I think. So I try as much as possible to, when those come in, treat them like a bird flying by or a car driving by, and then I don't, to see it, acknowledge it
Mhm.
because it could be important. Who knows? But acknowledge it and then let it go,
Yeah.
and then the positive stuff really hold on to it.
When I hear those thoughts of like, "Beau, you're not where you should be," that's not God. So,
No.
or Beau, you're not, God knows where I was going to be before I was there. Okay. So he knows that. So he knows, but I do believe some of the thoughts are not a thought of like guilt, right? So looking in the mirror is not about being guilty. It's about being honest and saying to
Yeah.
myself, to God, to who, admitting that I could do better. I know I could. No one
Yep.
else can actually. Some people could tell you do better, but they really don't know. You're the only one that really knows deep
Absolutely.
down. And also, you're the only one who can validate those thoughts or invalidate those thoughts. So if somebody tells you, "Hey Jared, dude, you're the hardest worker I know. You work as hard as you can every day." And for you, you can either agree with it or disagree with it. My thoughts don't automatically become validated within you. Now, could I convince you over time that I'm validated? Yeah, but you get to decide ultimately. So if I say I'm proud of you, you could say I'm not proud of myself. I'm not where I should be at
For sure.
38, because the thing is, guys like you and I think I can lump us together, but I'm done looking at other people, but I thought I'd be in a different spot. I created my own failure by saying I'd be at this by 40, and I'm almost
Yep.
40, and I'm like, how am I going to get there? And I still say to God, I can still get there. I'm not 40 yet. So, but those are
Yep.
what happened is I've created these thoughts of where I would be. And sometimes I create my own failures by saying, but I also set those dreams and went after them, right? So tell me what dreams and why you left a captive and started commercial. Why would you leave the safety of a captive agency and go alone? Because you know the benefits of captive, but I also know the
Yeah.
benefits of independence. So let's talk about that, man. Tell me about that
Yeah.
transition and why.
So I am glad that I started with, I first worked for a broker for
Yeah.
about 6 months. Didn't agree with the way he was running things, his morals,
Mm.
principles, all these kind of things
Yep.
in general. So left, and at that time, farmers would let pretty much anyone try
Yeah,
to start their own agency because the reserve and career program were so difficult. Most most of the time people failed out of it and then they take your agency from you. So uh, I didn't know that, and so I got into it,
it's true.
and I was one of the only ones to make it in this area for years. And I helped a few other people by coaching them and just explained to them what I did, which was work my ass off and hit the phones every single day, hit the pavement,
Yeah.
everything for 3 years straight, basically, to hit the numbers needed, and then really focus on how to build a great agency
Mm.
once you're not so stressed about hitting 60 PNC policies a month
Mhm.
and 6 life a month every month, or your agency's taken from you.
Right.
Once you have that fear out of your mind, you can really do some good work. But I do appreciate how tough it was because we've gone through hard markets and soft markets, and now we're in a hard market again. And at that time, farmers was the highest, had the highest rates in our area for auto and home. So, however, they had one of the very best products. So I sold on value because I learned the ins and outs of every other carrier's policy in our area, and farmers beat it
Wow.
in many areas. So it was a pay for what you get kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
and that worked well. And but yeah, it taught me a lot. And then so what happened was I started just learning a lot about the insurance industry and really diving in, just like I did with fighting. I'm gonna
Right.
study it all
Immerse.
freaking night. I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna learn from it. Yeah, I'm gonna be the freaking best.
Mm.
Anything I try to
Love that.
do in my mind,
Me
I
too.
have to.
Yeah.
So I just went crazy and started figuring out all these different commercial routes. Learned the Lloyd's of London super well. Built some really good
Wow.
relationships. Started insuring some really risky businesses
Mhm.
and stuff that farmers wouldn't take. My farmers agency was doing really well, and they said, well, if we can't write it or we decline it, go ahead, write it elsewhere.
Sweet.
So I built an outside
Wow.
brokerage and started placing all hard to place risks there, and started specializing in it, and a lot of blue collar construction, manufacturing, cannabis, anything
Wow.
tough
Yeah.
properties, all that good stuff. And really enjoyed that a little more than doing all the personal lines. So decided to sell it. I got my securities licenses, did got my Series 6 and
Yeah.
63, and was going that route as well. And just decided to sell that agency and focus on commercial insurance and build a brand away from just Jared Bradshaw
Mm.
commercial insurance.
Yeah.
So that's when we built Max Pro, and that was sold in 2017. But here's, it's funny that you said this. Here's what also happened is when I sold,
Yeah.
um, I noticed that I used to do something where when I became super successful at something or good at something, I wanted to move on right away.
Mm.
And so I caught myself wanting to move on even from insurance, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll just do this a little bit
I've
and I'm gonna start
accomplished
another
it.
kind of business.
Yeah.
But then I said, no, 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 no. Like, I need to stick something out for 10 years and build a brand and really like immerse myself for longer, just like I did fighting,
Mm.
and to become a real expert, I guess you could say, or just someone who is so confident in their
Yes.
abilities because of
Yes.
what they put into it every
Mhm.
single day, that I believe myself and others I feel like should trust me and believe me when I'm speaking to them about this.
Yeah.
So took that into Max Pro, and my business partner and I we started it together in 2018 and just have been building ever since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, a lot of captives do what you were talking about. A lot of captives actually they throw out a bunch of contracts, some scratch, they let some people buy. But if I think back to my class, 2019 October, I want to say there was probably 40 because I was in another captive also. Um,
Oh,
and I want to say there's 40, 50 people, and I only know of like one left that at least is
wow.
thriving. The rest are either gone or have given up. And I'm being honest. So shout out to Eric Billings. Like he's one of the guys I know for sure, still from that class, still going. But all the rest succumb to failure and giving up.
Yep.
And you know, some people think insurance is all roses, and it's like because people gotta have it, and it's like no,
Yeah.
it's not that easy. Now I think those that are successful within insurance do very well. I do, but I've seen more fail and be mediocre than great. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what do you think has started to separate you in the commercial world and in insurance from good to great? Because I know you are growing at a high level. You won a breakout award and commercial insurance agent of the year. So like, tell me about what's separating you lately in your agency from others.
I think just I think our long-term vision
Mm-hmm.
and our purpose is what's separating us. So we just started to really do some brand building. We've been focused on building the business, and we have an amazing team. We have an amazing operations manager named Steven, and we have a great team that we've built so that now we can try to scale
Yeah.
and continue to build the team as well. So we've started to focus on online, personal branding and Max Pro branding, and really putting our thoughts out there
Yeah.
as leaders in the commercial insurance industry, or just insurance industry in
Yeah.
general. I guess you could knock it down to, and doing so will help us become better, more knowledgeable, more experienced in all these areas too, because we're just pouring our hearts into this and actually putting our original thoughts out regarding business, regarding risk management, regarding all of these, all the sides of the cube, I guess you could say
Mm-hmm.
that go into this.
Yeah. So somebody shared with me, a mentor, he actually played for Manchester United, was on the podcast last season, but he said, when the why is big enough, the how will present itself. So did you have the why you wanted to do insurance in the beginning, or did it take a little while to understand what your why was behind insurance?
The why when I started was to make money,
Hmm.
um, and I
And
understand
I
recurring revenue.
love your honesty. Yeah. I love that.
Sure.
So what did it,
So, and I think that's important is if I'm going to pour my heart into something,
yeah.
I have to know I'm going to be rewarded for it because I do feel like anything I pour my heart into, I'm going to be really good at it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to be able to provide a lot of value for other people and myself and who's ever involved. So you have to be able to make money to make it rewarding and also afford life with a family. So money. Then it comes to finding a passion in it because of I like business, and
Hmm.
once fighting was in the background, my new sport
Yes.
is
Oh
business.
yeah.
So I want to beat people. I want to win.
Yes.
I want to be able to go into a room with another insurance broker and um, be quicker, better, more knowledgeable, have better strategies that come to mind for different
Hmm.
situations.
I love that.
And I couldn't do that by acting. Like, I'm not fake. I
Mm.
can't act,
Same here.
like that. I can't just do that. In order for me to have the true inner confidence in that, I have to know that I did the work to do it and
Hmm.
practice it and have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just that I'm pouring all of that into this, and I think if you do that in anything, if any man does that truly, he'll be amazing at it.
Yeah. So, I don't know what spurred this thought, but when you were talking, I started to think about find your identity in who you are, not in what you do or your job title or what company you
Yeah,
own. Because
yeah,
men specifically, and I might be speaking to everybody, women including, but a lot of men and women do too, will put all their identity and worth in their job title and what they own. And when that goes away, where do you go? I want to tell you a
yeah,
story about my dad that this reminds me of. Is my dad succumbed to some addictions, which led to him losing his business, which led to him losing financial income. The way my dad
mm,
loved and gave was through gifts. It's kind of who he was. Kind of yell at you, be hard on you, but might show up the next day with a. I can remember things he would show up home with a dirt bike, golf clubs, like stuff like that. Like show up, and that was his way of kind of like, "I'm sorry, I love you,"
yeah,
but didn't really
yeah.
say
We're
it,
cool.
right? But
Yeah,
when the addictions got too big to control, it ruined his business, which ruined his financial income, which ruined his identity because his identity
mm,
was 100% wrapped in being an entrepreneur or a business owner in providing income. And my dad disappeared for a couple weeks, and I had to go find him. I'll never remember this. I don't even know how it happened. I can't even remember. I don't know if I talked to my mom or what, but I had to go pick him up and take him to rehab. And on the way to rehab, I remember him saying, I'm not worth anything to anybody anymore because I don't have any money. I have nothing to offer. I might as well
Mm,
end my suffering. And it was like huge to me because very emotional, obviously, to be alone and picking them up by myself and having to deal with it. But that's the oldest son. Those are the kind of things that I had to do, which led to, you know, some of the strength I have in this life. But also, dude, I think
yeah.
that that example I learned from a bad example on what I wanted to be. That example right there has helped me understand. And Jared, and I tell all listeners, make sure your identity is not in what you do, because when it's taken away or the financial income's taken away, is are you still going to be the same person, or are you lost, lonely, and still never actually found yourself? So Jared, you're a competitor deep down. You're a fighter.
Yep.
That's who you are. Your identity is in that you overcome. You're an overcomer, actually. So
Yep.
that's your identity. In whatever you do, Jared, whether it's farmers, boxing, fighting, MMA, you're an overcomer. That's
Yep.
doesn't matter
Yep.
the avenue, does it?
It's 100%. It's who. It's not what.
Yes.
It's who.
Ah,
Any time you need to do something, it has nothing to do with what, when, where. It's who you are, who you've built, who
yeah.
you've become. When you enter that industry, that room, that ring, that's all that matters. I think that's why fighting was so important. And going back to your question on what was the drive for the insurance, I was getting to kind of, you just maybe circle back,
No,
was
yeah,
the
go
who.
ahead.
So
Yeah.
then it became studying business and getting to know how all these industries work, the risks that are, that are there for each of these different industry types primarily, and also how we can critical think our way to what else could happen and how to stop it or block it. Then it goes down to learning how these policies really work to provide coverage in the, in case there's a claim. Then you go into how are rates, put together, how can we negotiate the best premiums. Then how can we help with clients' P&Ls or taxes, or understand payroll taxes and payroll better than they do, so that we can help them in these areas also. And so we focused on these things for so long now, working with so many businesses, that that's my drive now too. Is I feel like I have a major or a doctorate or a bachelor's, whatever you call
Yeah.
it, in business for
Yeah.
real.
For real.
And I didn't get it from going to a
Me
college. I
neither.
got it because I
Hard
see
knock.
the ins and outs of thousands of companies. Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen how they do their taxes. I've seen their sales. I know everything. I know literally everything. So that's more of and getting to see real businesses succeed, some fail, what the owners were like, what their employees were like, what I thought maybe they could have done better from an outside look, a bird's eye view. Maybe just my different conversations with them, I pick up different tips, different things that I can now bring to the table, or things that I know I shouldn't do.
Right.
It's awesome. So I mean, if you really think about it, you've been doing it too, obviously, and you get to know so much about so many aspects of life through insurance. It's pretty funny, but
Oh
from
yeah.
a business sense, I want to keep being the best businessman possible, and
Totally.
creating the best businessman.
Yes. Yeah, and through being a businessman. So here's what I actually believe. I actually believe if you want to change the world, we need to change owners of businesses in their leadership. And then when they become a positive influence and they are growing people, and I actually uh, has actually been coming more and more clear to me that leadership, to me, my biggest conviction as just a leader is actually helping other people find who they are and what they were created to do. Like that is one of my biggest draws. Is I want to help people find who they are, because in life the hardest thing to actually find is who you are. So I think if we want to change the world, it takes business owners like you and more like you
Yeah,
and more like Max Pro out there that are employing people that they are going to help find their why, because your why is why you started the business, but what is their why they work for you, and what are they doing for their family, their personal and professional goals. So I know, because we've talked, that you're helping them find what their why is, which is so important. And that's how you change the world, through business owners and
a-
leaders that are leading correctly, leading people for them.
absolutely, absolutely. We Our operations manager, Stephen, for instance,
Hmm.
he's learned so much about business, since he came to work with us in 2019,
Wow.
and just has been so excited and driven and has killed it, that he opened up his own side business, which is a mobile bar business, called Double Shot Bar, and he's killing it.
Jeez.
And he's running a great business. He has employees, and he's still killing it here at the office. And this is a great environment that we can continue to foster. With our operations team, we do something called Wisdom Wednesdays. So where I teach them different things about life, insurance, books I've read, just different things, strategies in life, and we go over it for 30 minutes to an hour. And I make cool little
Let's see.
printouts and stuff, and we have little quizzes. Here was our one from last week. This was the state of the industry address.
Yeah,
So I made it kind of like State of the Union,
I
but
love
State
it.
of the Industry, because we're entering into such a hard market right now. I wanted to really drill in why and what we have to look forward to, and kind of why it happens, what it's
Mhm.
about, and how to overcome it. So this was on property, commercial auto, general liability, and workers' comp. And so this is like page one.
I love it. You know, going into tough times with the competitor and overcomer like you who's continually won not every match, but always comes out on top. Like, I want to be around people like you. If I was going to go back into following somebody else in their goals or visions, I'd want to follow somebody like you who, when times get tough, that I've seen him rise above and win consistently. And that I know it doesn't matter how tough the time is or how big the opponent is, he's not going to give up and he's going to find a way to win because that passion for yes, I have this sick passion for yes. When somebody tells me no, I'm like, how do we find the yes? Like, why is it
Yeah.
no? How could it be yes next time? So
Yeah. It's your
anyway,
competitive instinct, dude. It's
yeah.
been honed for thousands of years. It's awesome. And some people have it more, than others.
Oh, or they have more bravery to show it. I think because deep
Yeah,
down,
for
everybody
sure.
kind of wants to be that person, but most of the people won't. 99% people won't. 1% probably will. And that 1%, they go out with bravery even when they're actually a little scared themselves. Because some days I go out and I want to find the answer, but I don't actually have it. And it's not about being a fraud or faking it, but it's that I have the bravery to go find the answer and problem solve for us when we don't have the answer. No one else does. No one else wants to
Oh
find it.
yeah,
So people want to follow real people,
absolutely,
right? People that get punched in the eye
absolutely,
and can handle it and then hit back, right? That's who they want to work with. They don't.
absolutely, absolutely. It's funny because I was just telling someone this yesterday, the day before. I building the personal brand now, and
Yeah.
Max Pro's brand online, and actually putting out videos and content
Good stuff, by the
was
way. I love it.
was thanks, man. Was nerve wracking for me,
Oh,
to put it
I know.
in the best way, because I'm more of an action person. Where if you're like, hey, that lady's getting robbed,
You go help her.
cool. Well, I'll run over there and smash this dude into the ground.
I don't doubt that.
Uh,
Yeah.
but then, like, pulling open my phone and recording a video,
That's
is
just
my heart might start racing. So I had to my self-talk, I had to improve so much during that process, which hasn't been very long, but I had to tell myself, stop being a pussy. You've fought men in
mhm.
cages, and you don't want to talk into a little screen. Come on,
I
dude.
know.
And so I had to be like, you're right. What am I doing? I don't like the way I sound a lot of times,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to just, you know, process and communicate what I think would be valuable or helpful
Mhm.
to others. And I feel like if I keep that same heart, soul, mind, purpose about it, then I can't go wrong.
Yeah. I totally understand. One of my biggest the hardest things that had to overcome is actually doing the same type of thing. Who actually wants to hear from me? Who actually wants to listen to this podcast? Who actually wants to see my content? But then through friends and encouragement of others, like I've stepped into this because most people would think, oh, Beau's a great communicator. He probably like super loves this. And I do, but I also don't like prideful, arrogant people. And I am very cautious on what I put out because I don't want to come off that way because I'm not. And I hate it. I want to like,
For sure.
that's the kind of person I don't want to be like. So I want to make sure I don't put off things that are like, look at me, look how freaking awesome I am and look how great I am. But more importantly, is I would like people to look at me and say, I find encouragement there, or I want people that maybe aren't to this point in their life yet that can say, I want them to think I can get there because Beau got there and he's showing others the way. Like I think the greatest leaders make people feel safe and show them the way. Like I don't want
Dude,
my kids to have
yes.
every fumble that we had. Do you? Not every single
No,
one. They need some of them, but not all of them. Do they?
for sure. One of the most important things that Wes Watson taught me
Yeah.
on one of our first calls was that, and this goes right to what you're saying
Mhm.
about you feeling egotistical or prideful or any of these things, was it's actually more egotistical not to put out the information and video because you're so concerned with how others think and feel.
Dang,
That's
that's
your own
deep.
ego.
That's deep.
And
Yeah,
oh, it totally changed my way of thinking about it. I'm like, you're right. I'm so worried about what others think. That's more egotistical than just being myself and
so
trying to
true.
provide value.
Yeah,
And if you look at it from a male or a masculine role, whatever it is, standpoint in life, I have achieved a lot of great things, being married, having sons, building a successful business, selling it, starting another business that's doing very well. These are things that maybe I have knowledge and experience that I could help others with. And obviously, the insurance space, the more people we can reach and communicate with, if we're providing value, the better. So
so
it was
true.
egotistical for me to just hold everything I know in and be so scared of a camera. Um, but yeah,
I have a good friend that he didn't create this saying, but he says it all the time. He says, "We got to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. We have to set the tone, the
ooh,
culture, and stay there." And if anything,
yep,
guys like you and I, we start to turn it up a little bit over time.
oh yeah,
It doesn't just stay there,
oh
but
yeah,
there are a lot of leaders listening to this call that need to be reminded that you're not the thermometer of your agency, of your business, of your household, of your life. Because if you are, you're going up and down based on today's weather, based on today's temperature, based on how hard or how good it is. There's nothing worse than being an inconsistent leader because inconsistency is scary. So we sometimes think, oh, he's very creative, he's all over the board, which is good some days. Other days it could be scary because be unpredictable. What's he going to do today? Is he
absolutely.
going to yell at me? Is he going to flip this desk over? Is he going to fire me? Is he going to yell at me and then hug me and say he loves me and he needs me? Like, what is the day that this person's going to be? So, to force and push myself to be the thermostat when the ship is sinking, I'm saying it's not going to it's not going to sink. We're going to get it, or hey, we'll get a new ship if we have to. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's stoic. That's stoicism. That way of thinking,
yeah. Oh,
100%.
nice. I didn't fully think of it like that, but thanks for the
Yeah,
compliment.
you're controlling your
No,
emotions, your thoughts. Yeah, that's
yeah.
stoic philosophy. That's awesome.
So,
Um, yeah, you can't have the yeah. Go ahead.
no, no, those thoughts of like are pretty much fearful, and I used to say, I still say it, but it's definitely guided me, man. Is like I when I went to start this business, I stopped making decisions based on fear, started making decisions based on love and what I wanted to do in life. Because fear is what holds so many of us back. And you ever heard the acronym for fear? Fake evidence appearing real. So
Yep,
I'm
false
think
evidence appearing real.
false evidence,
Fake.
yeah,
Yep.
appearing. So I'm thinking, wow. So once I started making decisions based on love, for the love of my kids, of love of my legacy, love for my dreams, not fearful of what's going to fail, what's going to happen, or fearful that I need to quit this job in corporate retail before they do restructuring, I get fired. Like, not even that side of fear. It was just like, I need to go do what I was called to do and not be afraid. I need to chase after that with love instead of fear. And yes, fear
Oh
and
yeah.
anger could be channeled correctly, but I'd rather lean on the side of love than fear.
Think about this too,
Yeah,
right?
let's hear it.
So, you just made me think of this with fear,
Yeah,
and I go through this, and I have to tell myself this, and self-talk has to come in and remind me.
always.
When you are fearful of something and continually thinking about it before it's actually happened, you are going through it twice,
Whew.
3 times, 4 times, 5 times, when you may never go through it once. So maybe run through it in your mind once or twice and figure out what you would do if it does happen. Think of it as like a strategy now. I'm
I like that.
gonna
Yeah,
get through this no matter what. So
yeah.
now what do I need to do just in case it happens? Then let it go. You already have
It's
it
a
in your
great
subconscious.
exercise.
You're right. It's there. Otherwise, I'm living it so many times, and most of the stuff we actually fear never happens. So if and that's I believe a true statistic. So if that's the case, then why are we harping on our fears so much? Just
Jeez.
strategize around it.
Jeez. So, perspective does determine our proximity to our goals, and that's just a different shift in your perspective, which will ultimately determine how close we become. You know, how if we let fear win or love win. And yeah, I love that, man. That's so good. So, what kind of advice do you want to leave the listeners with today? Maybe a younger version of yourself, somebody who wants to do what you've done. What kind of advice can you leave for them today?
Man.
And by the way, you've left some really good nuggets
Uh,
already, and it's tough when
oh, thanks, man.
when you share a lot of great stuff, and then somebody's like, "What else would you leave? Is there
I'm
anything
trying to
else?"
think of
Yeah.
what my conscience is telling me, and
Mhm.
it tells me that if what I would have listened to my conscience more,
Mm,
and also just build the person and the individual that can succeed and will succeed in any realm,
mm,
whether it's going to dinner on a date, or if it's addressing a boardroom, or if it's asking the bank for money, or getting married, being a husband, a father. Work on yourself in all the areas you can: faith, fitness, finance, all these things, so that when you do have a family, when you do start a business, when you do work for someone, whatever you're doing, you're the best version of yourself. If you're the best version of yourself in any of these situations, your life will be better no matter what. Because why would any less version of yourself produce a better result?
oh,
It won't.
so true.
Um, so it's not thinking about luck. It's just whether I have good luck or bad luck, I'm the best version of myself. If a car is coming down the street and about to hit me and I'm in shape, I can jump out of the way because I'm the best version of myself. I'm in shape. I'm healthy. I'm aware of things. If I'm going to a big business meeting and I haven't prepared myself, I haven't studied business, studied emotional intelligence, studied any of these things, then I'm going to do worse off in the situation. If I've done the best I can, I'm going to do better, no matter what, whether I make it or don't. My mental capacity is going to be stronger. Your physicality and your mentality are directly linked.
Mm,
So if one is
physicality and
strong, the
mentality.
other one will be strong,
Wow.
right?
Mhm.
So I think that's super important. The better shape I'm in, the sharper I'm going to be mentally as well.
Wow.
And part of that comes from the fact that I won't have any reservations about how I look.
Mm.
So I already have one thing out of my mind. I feel good about myself in that area. I can focus more on what I need to say.
I see. I see. You know, great advice. Great advice. Thank you for being on the show, and I appreciate all your advice. You know, more than anything, I just want to thank you for being an overcomer and a winner, champion. And you know, sometimes the small wins that you accomplished, when you look back, you realize how all those small wins became a big win. So I can see it when I read your bio and introduce you and talk about you, and you didn't settle on losing or falling short, man. And you should now be able to celebrate. And I see when you get to go out and celebrate a nice dinner with your wife, man, and you have worked hard all week and you've been very strict with your diet, and then you can enjoy a really nice night. And I don't know what you eat. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you get to go out and enjoy the fruits of your labor
We eat
because you
good.
work so hard. But you do you I can
Yeah,
see
we
you
eat
eat
good.
good. And you know, Jared, I want to make sure people can connect with you. So if you are listening today to the Conviction of a Leader, and Jared has just struck a chord with you and he's encouraged you, I want you to share this with your friends, family members, and coworkers, or listen to it again. Share it on social media. More importantly, I want you to reach out to Jared and connect with him and just let him know how much of an impact this episode had on you. Because you know why? That's what the Conviction of a Leader is about. Jared, how can they connect with you? Where and how?
The best place would be on Instagram.
Yes.
It's maxpro_Jared. So MAXPRO_Jared,
Okay.
Jared. And then Facebook and stuff is just Jared Bradshaw. But
Cool.
Instagram is where I do the most,
Yes.
posting and value and content I try to put out, and stuff with the family and all that good stuff.
Great. And
And dude, thank you for having me on and for sharing so much too about your backstory, and you had some good nuggets in there that I'm taking with me
well, well, good
after
man.
this, so I appreciate it.
I I want to just let you know, man, I'm impressed with you. I would love to see you all be out in LA, California this weekend, and I hope that we can get together and maybe you shoot a picture out on your Instagram because you put out some good content. Maybe that'll be your next good content. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
that'd be
So
awesome.
and I don't want to end this episode without honoring Ian. Ian K connected us, and if it wasn't for
Yeah.
Ian, man, I wouldn't even know you or talk to you today. So I think it's important to praise people in public, and I could email him or
Heck
text him
yeah.
after this and say thanks for connecting us. But honestly, I just want to say, Ian, thank you for connecting me with Jared. You are a great judge of character. And I can honestly say that, Jared, you are now a friend after speaking with you before this, but also on the podcast. I would call you a friend now. So, you know, thank you for jumping on, man. You are a valuable person to have around and on your team, and you've done some amazing things. Your sons are lucky to have you as a dad, and your wife is lucky to have you as a husband. Get out there, man, and just keep working hard like you have been. I know
Heck
you
yeah.
will. And I will be along to celebrate when I see on Instagram the hard work you're putting in. And I can see it. Your content has been top notch because it comes from here. And that's what's important, man. You've been true to who you are. And that is not arrogant, my friend. So I appreciate you.
Heck yeah. Hey, I just want to say too, thank you to Ian for introducing us
Yeah.
because yeah, we would have met each other, and Ian's been a big part too of me helping or helping me create content and
Yeah.
create just hopefully valuable content because
Hmm.
it's tough to do in insurance. It's not a sexy,
No,
cool topic that everyone wants to talk about. It's
this
tough to
isn't
come up
fitness as
with
cool as
content
fitness can
actually.
be, right? This isn't fitness either.
For
So
sure.
that's pretty
And there's a lot
special.
of comedy that you could do with
Yeah.
it, but as far as being serious, but
Yeah.
also entertaining and providing value is tough with insurance. So
So true.
he's been a big help for me and an inspiration in creating the content and also helping me market it and all that good stuff.
Shout out. Maybe we can get Ian to hang out with us, but by the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be a couple weeks from now. But dude, thank you so much for joining the second season of Conviction of a Leader. Have a good one, buddy.
Thank you, brother. You too.